Hello and welcome to Elevate Professional Learning webinar series. This is our February webinar, STEM and the Makerspace with Art. We're so happy to have Jennifer Martin join us this evening. I'm Cynthia Williams Phelps, the Director of Professional Learning for Missouri Alliance for Arts Education, and we are co-hosted with Lauren Hanahan, and we're also happy to have you here. So again, welcome. Today's presentation is recorded for future use. If you don't wish your image to be visible, please turn off your camera. Breakout session interactions are not recorded. Remember to mute your microphone and enter your questions, comments, and responses in the chat. So if you would, at this time, please add to the chat what inspired you to be here today. And then also sign in using the link in the chat, or you can use this QR code that's on the screen. So we'll take a moment to do that, to introduce yourselves. Let us know who you are and why you're here. And then please sign into the chat. That helps us to know who's here and so that we can follow up with you. Again, today's presentation is recorded. So our goal and mission with our Elevate Professional Learning webinar series is to elevate teaching and learning for all educators and students through equipping arts-centered learning, empowering vision for arts education, amplifying artistic teaching practices, and engaging arts education opportunities for all students. And Lauren is going to lead us through a warm-up exercise.
Thanks, Cynthia. So this is an activity. This is from Drama-Based Pedagogy. This is a warm-up activity that we are going to use just in a personal reflection here. I know as a early childhood educator that January felt like 3 months instead of just 1 month. And so I don't know if anybody else on the call can also relate to that. So we're glad that it's February now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the different objects on the screen here. And you are going to pick one of these objects, and then you're going to describe the object, and then you are going to connect to that object in some way. So I'm going to model that for you. And then I would like to have a couple of you share out and how you are feeling connected to one of these objects. So again, this is called object metaphor. I will go ahead and start, and I'm going to look at the red funnel. So the first thing I'm going to do is describe what I see. And I see when I look at it that it has a large opening at the top. And then as it goes down, the opening gets a lot smaller. And so I know for me right now, how I'm feeling is that if I'm looking at the size of the hole, I feel like for my students, for my family, for the people around me, that is kind of the size and the space of the energy that I'm giving. And then it feels like the hole at the bottom is kind of the size and the space and the energy for myself. And so going through January, I'm looking at that funnel as just the difference in the areas that are for other people and then where it is for myself. And so kind of reflecting on that funnel and maybe trying to flip that funnel around for February and sharing a little more love in the other direction. So now would anybody else like to take a look at some of the other objects there and share how you're feeling?
I had the opportunity to attend the Missouri Music Educators Conference last week, and I am connecting with the cup because I feel like my cup is full. Just being surrounded by amazing educators and performances and conversations really helped to fill my cup.
That's wonderful.
Do I have to do the funnel or can I do something else?
You can choose any of the pictures that you see on the
All right,
screen.
that's what I thought. I choose the candle. I think it's probably what's the terminology? Votive candle, or one that you see in Catholic churches or big cathedrals all over the world. And it brings back to me memories of especially little old ladies coming into the church, lighting the candle, and then sort of kissing everything in the area, including the coffin of the dead priest. So it gets kind of hairy here, but those are memories that I have, and the picture in my mind of thousands of those candles in the front of the church, which is quite impressive.
Thank you for sharing.
As a teaching artist that juggles different jobs, I feel like I'm the tree branching off in different directions and yet still trying to grow toward the sun. Um, and yet, like this picture, just feeling a little off kilter.
I kind of identify with the stapler. I wear a lot of hats and I'm just trying to keep all of it together.
Great. Thank you guys for sharing so much. What just with everybody kind of like we all picked different things. We all kind of connected in different ways. How does this information help us learn about our community together here today?
I think it helps us to have a better understanding of where we are in this season of the year, as well as our capacity, the kinds of work that we're doing, and it helps us to have a better understanding of how we can support one another as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, we're all at different age levels of teaching. Some of us are retired, some of us are in preschool, some of us are college, collegiate level, some of us are teaching artists. So, this is just kind of a nice way for us to all kind of get a feel for where we all are, what we're all experiencing on the day to day, build a quick community. But this is also could be connected to our curriculum and our content in a way. So if we quickly look at it through the lens of, let's say, literacy, if we're reading a story, let's say we're reading Charlotte's Web, how could we use this activity to connect to a character? What might that look like if we're reading the book and we say, okay, we're talking about Charlotte. Who can pick an object on this screen here and connect it to Charlotte and then have them explain? It's open ended. Different students might pick different things, and yet we're all kind of connecting and figuring out different pieces or different components about this book character. It leads an open pathway for different kids to come into the conversation. There's no really right or wrong answer to come into the conversation. And it just kind of opens up the dialogue and the conversation to different avenues of who this book character might be. Um, can you see any other curricular connections on how you could use this just quick warm up activity in other areas across the curriculum?
You could use the all of the implements, staple, funnel, candle, um, cup, because in one way they all are an example of a machine. And if we're trying to do some kind of engineering or math project, we could begin to discuss them in that way. And then we could maybe make a leap and say, well, uh, using that definition, we can also think of the tree as a machine that is always moving towards the light and processing it.
Great, thanks. Yes, you could also be very intentional about the images that you choose, right? So you could pick very random images and just see what connections come up, or you could be very intentional about which 4 or 5 images you choose to really guide the conversation and where it goes. Um, I guess one final question I have just to kind of reflect is Did you find any part of this to be really easy or difficult, and why?
It's always difficult to put yourself out on a limb and say something, especially in these kinds of situations.
Yeah. But at the same time, there's a sense of community about it too, right? That it it's coming from how your perspective and how you're feeling. It's not my judgment or my feeling, it's how it's yours, right? And it's your response and your feeling and your answer. So there's this sense of listening and understanding and community that gets built along with it. And the more you get to practice it and the more you get to do it, the more that builds and that trust builds. And so that's kind of one of the great things about doing activities like this, is that they can be quick and they can be fast and they can build community. And then at the same time, they could be longer extensions into curricular content that you're doing as well. So thank you guys for joining me with this one. I hope you liked it. And we will be sure to link it into some follow-up notes that we send later on.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for engaging us in that activity. And now I'd like to introduce our presenter for this evening, Jennifer Martin. As a consultant and professional educator, Jennifer collaborates with schools and community partners to elevate STEM and makerspace best practices, helping educators design meaningful hands-on learning experiences. She is passionate about the transformative power of STEM with the arts in education and the ways the design process of thinking enhances problem solving and student engagement. So welcome, Jennifer. And I will stop sharing so that you can share your screen.
Okay. A minute. I jumped on it too quick. Hold on just a second for the share. First of all, did everybody get to an orange screen?
Mhm.
Yes. And
Yes,
it
thank
says
you.
Missouri Alliance Elevate Professional Learning Community, where
Yes.
STEM meets art. And I consider the makerspace that creative engine. But before we get started, as Cynthia did such a wonderful introduction, I appreciate that. I've been a STEM educator for 15 years before people even knew the acronym STEM. But my background is actually in the arts. I started out in school as an art major and then ended up as an English major. And down the path of a long career, I ended up in education, and STEM education is where I landed, and I'm pretty passionate about that. I will never do STEAM. I will never do STREAM. I always do STEM. People ask why, and it's because I've seen the budgets cut of the arts when you get a STEAM or STREAM element. The technology costs a lot of money, and so they tend to hire the STEM person, the technology person full time, and they'll have the music person as part time, the art person as part time. So I'm pretty passionate about the arts, and I never ever want to lose budgets for those art partnerships. Plus, I don't feel like everybody can do everything, speak to everything. I like to collaborate and partner. And that's where we're going to speak a little bit too. But I've had a makerspace, a STEM makerspace, a STEM make, a STEM lab. There are many different ways to use that terminology. But tonight's purpose is about talking about how STEM, makerspace, and art work together. So I hope you enjoy what you hear. This is just a brief overview. Feel free to contact me. I am very good at doing curriculum content and developing. Like right now, I just collaborated with an educator here at a high school, and I should have pointed that out. Right now, I am in a high school, but I have taught STEM practices from pre-K to 12. I've taught every single grade. I'm unique in that sense because a lot of people don't have opportunities to work with every single level, and I've been fortunate enough to get to do that. This week, the Olympics kicks off, and there are a lot of STEM art projects out there that I can connect you with or I can share with you. I'm not going to today, but you will get information to connect with me. Hold on just a moment. I'm in a conference. I apologize. I'm actually at the STEM lab. We have things going on this evening, so I apologize. As we said, why combine STEM and art? So I really believe that STEM is one piece that when you have that knowledge, it ignites more creativity and it gives you the skills to take what you want to create and expand it further. You don't know what you don't know. And I'm going to even give a very simple version of if you were an artist in fabric art design and you were sewing, you need to know math to be able to sew and do your seams correctly. Is it high level math? No, but you do need to know those things and you've got to be able to identify it as math. And when you have a question, to understand that math can help you solve a problem in that intersection. So I consider a makerspace a little bit different than some people. I consider a makerspace kind of a mindset. Yes, you can have a wonderful, huge makerspace. I'm fortunate to have a huge lab right now, but I haven't always. I've had it on a cart going room to room from the pre-K to eighth grade age. I've had it in a small closet in many different ways. The question is, what's the difference between the makerspace and the art studio? And one of the big pieces in that makerspace versus art is the technology piece. It's the 3D printers, it's the tools that you might have within a makerspace, whether it's 3D printing pens, power tools. There is going to be crossover, but it's not a one-to-one. I like to always give the example, and when I'm going to give you an example here later on with Alexander Calder. He was a wonderful artist and a wonderful engineer. And as the STEM person, when I collaborate with somebody on this project, I focus on the STEM part, and the art educator that I work with focuses on color. Why did they choose that? What is the purpose of these things? So it's the process over product in the end. So the shared process, we've all heard this as an engineering design process, and it's the same in the art. Some people call it the design process. It's the ask, imagine, create, and improve. That's really, really, to me, why I prefer the engineering design process over the scientific method is because I can keep improving things and changing them. Whereas the scientific method, you have to keep things very simple and, I'm sorry, excuse me, not simple, very consistent across the board. You can't change a experiment or something that you're working on. It has to be constant. Whereas when you're in art and when you're in the engineering design, you're looking to ways to improve. Hopefully, in the engineering part, you're documenting. The art part, you may not have to document as much, but I even encourage documentation when I'm working with an art educator, having them have their students document as they go because of the transition of knowledge. Students need that extra piece in documentation to recall what they've learned sometimes for improvement. So the next thing is the 6 C's of framework. And I know I've added a couple of C's on there if you hadn't noticed. Obviously, we have creativity, collaboration, communication, critical thinking. But I've really added content, courage, and confidence I put together. And why have I done that? Especially the courage and confidence piece. If you don't have a foundation of content, you don't have the courage to speak up a lot of the times. If you, again, going back to the you don't know what you don't know. And I always like to, and even in creativity, it gives a student, any person, it doesn't even need to be a student, if they have, and I hate to use the word data in a group like us because I'm kind of over data right now, but if they have the language to be able to express what they're defending are, not even defending, just presenting, they will have more courage to do that. But they have to have that content to be able to get up there and speak. And again, I believe most of us as educators, I apologize if I'm misspeaking, know about the other C's, the 4 C's in the past, because that's a common thing that we use in education. But I like to add those last two, even though I put in courage and confidence together, because all those things really play a part in that. And we all know the student that knows a lot of stuff but can't get themselves out there. And I think it's because they don't have a foundational piece of understanding. Okay, so now this is artists. Remember I said I love art. So know that I'm pretty passionate about art. As a matter of fact, I'm reading a book right now. Oh my gosh. Um, oh my gosh, it's something the model. They're studying a piece of artwork once a week. It's on the New York bestseller list. I can't remember it, but they're analyzing and reading and looking at one piece of artwork a week in this novel, and it kind of plays with this in that artists inspire STEM. So Lauren Lauren was talking about novels. And a lot of you have, I'm sure, used novels in the past to inspire artwork. I am using kind of twisting that a little bit, and I'm using an artist, okay, to inspire some STEM specifically. And art, because artists model iteration, risk-taking, and design thinking all the time. And one example that I like to use, and I'm going to give you more, and I can get you these slides. This is another presentation that I've done. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Alexander Calder. Can you do a thumbs up or let me know and see if you know about Alexander Calder? Nope. Okay. And I can't see all of you at once, so I apologize. Let me see if I can see. Alexander Calder, he is an artist that created the mobile and the stabile. And the mobile, you've heard of mobiles before. And in the corner here is the Calder mobile. You've probably seen one out anytime you've gone to an art museum. They'll have these mobiles that use these very unique shapes and coloration. He loved red, blue, the primary colors. And then you also have the stabile. Stabiles, that is a misnomer there because when you look at the stabile, you've seen this structure before. It's one of them. I think this is the flamingo, but I'm not sure, in Chicago.
Yeah.
And that is what we call the stabile. So he is the creator of both of those. Oh, and I got back. I'm sorry, I went out of presentation mode, guys. Sorry about that. So we'll get back. So he also was fascinated by wire. This down here, he did a circus made all of wire. And again, I will share with you these materials if you'd like. But he studied engineering. His choice of medium was wire. He loved wire. He was passionate about who's ever done in art or a project where you've taken wire and made a face out of it? those kind of things. He would make sculptures with wire. But he also had a engineering, his parents were both artists. He wanted to be an artist, but his parents insisted he study engineering, so he did, and he combined the two. And as you can see, the mobile and the stable deal with all these STEM terminologies of motion, balance, levers, kinetic energy. All these things are a part of what Alexander Calder was able to create because he had these understandings of levers and kinetic energy. So then he could create, he could be more confident because he had more content to make things even bigger than he could even imagine. And the stabiles are huge, as well as these sculptures are perfectly balanced and they do not have adhesive on them. So, and I've got lesson plans for those as well if you're ever interested. But again, there's that content. He's able to take his content and take what he knows to become more creative in a different realm. And then as an artist, I can use Alexander Calder to inspire kids to do these kind of projects. And I have. We've done circuses where like just modeled just like his circus down here. Hopefully. See if we can get it up. Sorry. I got the commercial. I thought I had, so sorry. I thought I had skipped it out. Sorry about that, guys. So here he made all these animals out of wire and puppetry. And one of the projects that we created as students were to create wire puppets, just like this. But they had to move, just like this. They had to have a movement to it. So let's see. And will I go out again? Sorry. I haven't done presentation on Zoom in a long time. I'm going to tell you, I haven't done one since. When do you think? So again, this is just one artist that I've used to inspire STEM projects and STEM learning. And in the makerspace, remember we were talking about combining those two, that is one of those unique things. Makerspaces tend to have more of those machine shop kind of tools in them that an art studio may not. Art studio may lean towards more of the classic art. And remember I said, when I'm working with my artist friends on this, I'm letting them talk about why does Alexander like to use red, blue, and yellow? What is the purpose of using red, blue, and yellow? What does it do? Those kind of things. I don't deal in that kind of aspect of it when we're collaborating together. Remember, it's hard to teach all of it as one person. Like it's just, and let's face it, having a collaborator gives a different voice to things. As educators, when we're educating a group, they don't want to hear everything from us. Like they get tired of hearing us when we're working with them. So what do students gain? To me, in STEM and art and in these maker spaces is that independence because it's student driven. When you give them these content and you give them the courage to try new things, they get ownership and are just being brave. Again, going back to those C's. So today, remember I told you that I have done this with a number of different things. As artists inspiring STEM, and maybe I should have reversed that size. Sorry about that. I don't know how big it is on your screen, so I apologize. The artists inspired with Calder, there are some children's biography books that I used with that, and you can bring in the ELA too, or the artist could read these pieces. But here are some other ones that I've also worked with projects on as an artist that inspires STEM. So Frank Lloyd Wright is an architect, Again, he loved art. He also loved nature, and he used a lot of geometry intentionally. So I've done projects with Frank Lloyd Wright, The Shape of the World. Beautiful book. Beautiful book, I have to tell you. And if you know anything on Montessori, if any of you are connected in Montessori education, it references that with the shapes, with Montessori blocks in the storybook. Georgia O'Keeffe with scale. I've done murals with the Georgia O'Keeffe scaling book through Georgia's eyes. G. Ben quilts. Again, that coloration and math piece and measurement. If you're not familiar with G. Ben quilts, and again, we're getting to that STEM lab, you have sewing machines in a STEM lab. You might have electronic cutters in a STEM lab or a makerspace. I Thea Jensen is Simple Machines. I don't know if you've seen his machines and his sculptures. They're huge. You've probably seen him on YouTube. He's more of a current artist. They have like walking. He likes to do them on sand, but they look like little walking octopuses and all kinds of different fun, cool, kinetic sculptures. Now, my favorite, which I saved for last, I don't know if you noticed, I skipped, but Leonardo da Vinci, I'm kind of a Leonardo da Vinci geek, is a true Renaissance. And why I'm bringing him up last is he is that collaboration of STEM and art and everything under, he was he planned parties. He was a party planner too. If you are not familiar with this story and this storybook called Leonardo's Horse, it is a phenomenal book, okay, that will take you through Leonardo's life, plus the life of Charlie Denton, who took on what Leonardo considered his masterpiece, supposedly, as the mythology goes, in creating this huge sculpture of a horse. But it takes you through the engineering design process. It takes you through the art process. It takes you through so many pieces. And it took Charlie Dent 20 years to complete with Leonardo. They don't know how he's going to finish it. And you can see the actual replica of Leonardo's horse in Italy, and I think it's Michigan, because he did two. Charlie Dent did. But I would highly recommend that children's book as well. And the other thing, I know I've been saying children's book, do not be afraid to use these books with high school students. Okay? You might not read them verbatim, but the imagery is awesome. The information is awesome because remember, this is used to inspire, these books are used to inspire something else. So the artist is inspiring the work that we're doing in the STEM using a makerspace. I guess I should have pulled some of my projects out. I wish I had done that. I didn't think that through. So, but I could certainly show you some at some point as well. So the makerspace is where, just like we started at the beginning, remember that STEM gains its creativity. That's where we can get our creativity, and art gets it some purpose, kind of going back and forth a little bit. It kind of flips the coin, and the students gain confidence. And I know I keep going back to that confidence, but I think that is a piece that educators, not us necessarily, but education as a whole undervalues. Confidence, and when I say confidence, I mean true confidence too, not making stuff up, not bravada, but true confidence because they have a understanding of their content that they've created with. Here are just a couple of different views of what, remember it also at the beginning, I was saying a makerspace is a mindset. It's not necessarily a place. It's a thought process. It's being in that creative space and taking that knowledge, and because you can go many places to create things, right? But if you would like a makerspace, they have them on carts. Matter of fact, if any of you are in the St. Louis area, I don't know, raise your hand if you're in the St. Louis area. I didn't even think about this. My robotics team is donating STEM. They're calling them innovator labs. They're like a $600 cart with consumables on there. You just have to let me know and apply for one, and they're free of charge. They're filled with materials and STEM projects that are related to different things. They have a children's book that goes with it, two children's books. So FYI, sorry I interjected that. I didn't even think about mentioning that. But even it's this conversation area, it's access to technology where possible, but even something as simple as a board can be a STEM makerspace for that process of thinking, right? I know I've kind of thrown a lot at us. Here is my LinkedIn if you ever want any information. Cynthia is also going to send out contact information as well. And as I said, some of these projects I can share with you. I have on my LinkedIn two other presentations, one that goes more into the depth of the art inspiring stuff, STEM, and one that goes more into the makerspace philosophy within robotics as well. Any questions, guys? And I need to put pauses in where I talk because I talk very fast. I just told my robotics team because they're presenting. I have two robotics teams and they're practicing. I said, make sure you write yourself some pauses because everybody tends to talk fast and you need to slow down. And I don't even do it myself.
So are you
So,
currently working in a
yeah.
school?
Yes, I am. I'm currently actually in school right this second. I've got two robotics teams down the road here, down two classrooms. But
Oh,
yes, I am in a school right now, and I
in
also
St. Louis.
in the St. Louis area. Yes,
Oh, and so you're a teacher in a school
I'm a
and
STEM coordinator, so I do
STEM coordinator. Okay.
yes. So the beauty of a STEM coordinator, I'm really encouraging more schools to hire them if at all possible. A STEM coordinator is not your classic educator, while as I do work with students, but I also work with educators. So, for example, I have collaborated with the theater department for the STEM lab and students that I have working and wanting to work in STEM to develop a backdrop. They're going to create Oz. They're doing Wizard of Oz, and they're going to do the hologram for. They're creating the hologram for the wizard for the theater. So that's the technology part. So they also are doing the backdrops. They're doing the photo ops for the photo stations. They're developing two photo stations for people that attend Wizard of Oz. Last year for the theater collaborative was they presented Cinderella and they did robotic animals for the two animals. But I've collaborated with the art educator in the past. We have a new art educator this year, so he isn't quite, but she was having them do, oh my gosh, the press, the,
Printmaking.
you know, yeah, printmaking.
Linoleum
And
blocks.
yes, thank you. They created their own and 3D printed the printmaker. So
Oh,
they had the
the
printmaker. They
block.
made the printmaker here where they could do the press. And
Yeah.
then they made the blocks and the design in the art department.
Oh,
And
interesting.
then, like another project I've done right now, I'm collaborating on the Olympics on stuff. So we're doing in math, we're collaborating. And so sometimes I collaborate with the art educator, sometimes it's math, sometimes it just depends. And then I also run the lab itself. So the STEM lab and is different than a art lab in that I have robots in here. You don't have robots in the art room. I have esports equipment. I have graphic design equipment. I have sewing machines, embroidery machines, electronic cutters, Broadcasting equipment. That's another thing we didn't even get. Like in arts, there's a whole broadcasting piece too. So those are how I defined a little bit difference. Where at art studio, we have collaborated. Like I said, the print. We were looking at collaborating with ceramic engineering because they have the wheels and stuff like that. But I was going to work on how to use some of that material outside of art. So it's just a more of a collaborative as a coordinator. But yes, I work with students all the time because they're in this space every single day. Like I don't have a break. They're in here through lunch. But that's the way I want it. It's an open space. It's an open lab all the time.
So
That's
you
why
hang
you've
out
heard
in
of,
there. You don't have your own class?
yeah, sometimes the class might be in here. Like the robotics team is kind of a class, so they'll be in here sometimes. The esports team, we're doing a project for the Worldwide Tech Academy. So academic challenges that become teams, they work in here. Or if it's a
Interesting.
collaborative project using STEM tools, they would be in here. So not a formalized, because to me, STEM and the Makerspace is not a formalized class. Remember I said it's more of a mindset? It's you live within it. It's not you go to do it, if that
So when would
makes
a kid happen
sense.
to just wander in there?
They would I say, well, what you in here for? And then we'd have discussion. And then they like, I really like this. And I'd say, well, what can we do to get you to where you want to go with doing that?
Oh, so the way your school operates is these kids have freedom to move around?
They do have open lab time.
Oh, okay.
So it would be, now remember, this is high school.
Right.
So they have open labs, it would be that open block time, whatever, that they would have the opportunity to come here. Sometimes they're assigned a project, but sometimes I've had entrepreneurship things going on all the time, as an artist, we love that artists have a true entrepreneurship mindset. I've had numerous students come in and start different little mini projects where they're out there selling them, where it's like dog collars, like they've come in and designed and made them, flowers, those kind of things. So it lends itself to the entrepreneurship as well. I didn't even get into that, the makerspace. There's a lot of levels that again, art can do, but usually art focus and it should, and I want it to. I don't want art to lose its capability to be able to continue to get the foundational pieces of why and who Leonardo is and the history of art, right? That I don't deal with in the make like I don't deal with that in STEM in the makerspace. I might refer to, okay, well, Leonardo did this but I don't get into that piece of it. And I want, that's why art is still a foundational piece of content. Because again, we can't do everything. And
Right.
at least one person can't do everything. That's why stream and steam, like, oh my gosh, like, no, because sometimes you're teaching all of it, So, but that's kind
Separate
of
but
how,
together at the same time, maybe.
yeah. So that's kind of how I work with, and I always have worked. I've been doing this for 15 years, and that's how I've always come at it as STEM is a mindset that I'm making STEM connections. And this is another way to make connections with art and the makerspace, using a makerspace.
Jennifer, did you want to share about the Missouri Girls
Oh, thank you
Collaborative?
so much. I forgot.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing and then share again. Sorry. So I'm going to share one other thing. So there is a organization that is, and I know many of you may or may not know what's going on in terms of funding for a lot of things within our education system since last January, a year ago, when funding got pushed back all to the states. The states weren't quite prepared to have to take that back on. So like a lot of funding for after school education, which is an important piece in education as well, especially in enrichment type of things, was lost for Missouri. Missouri still does not have really a budget for this year for after school. Other organizations are looking at ways to advocating and trying to find funds to help offset that. And one of those organizations is the National Girls Collaborative Project, and it has been regrouped. There are 32 of them across the country. Missouri is has their own collaborative, and I'm going to go ahead and share again. Hold on just a second. Can everybody see where it looks like it says Missouri Girls Collaborative STEM? Is that what you see?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
So this is the National Girls Collaborative Project. This is the Missouri Girls Collaborative STEM Initiative. Does that mean that we're not including boys? No, it just means that females are still underrepresented. So for example, we talked about the science fair in one of our newsletters. Are boys still doing the science fair? Yes, boys are still doing the science fair. We're just encouraging girls because they've done well in them to continue to do so. This is just been regrouped. They started newsletters. You can go out and sign up for newsletters. This was January's that just came out. I will show you this really quick. For example, FYI, next month, if you get on the list, and there is a Facebook page, you can request some STEM projects to be delivered in April, K through 8, while supplies last. So here is, and it just goes through. Here's the STEM. It's 5 directions, 1 mission. So it works across the state. But here's what I was talking about. Winds of Innovation projects are free. Kite kits coming. Watch for it to order during engineering week. They're free of charge. We are looking for camps that we're going to highlight. Hopefully there will be a web page soon, but it's really a way to connect through the whole state. Different things are coming up. Here's free STEM curriculum for Missouri middle schools, if you're not familiar with that. And a lot of that crosses over. There's some reading, again, STEM in the Olympics, but with that, if you're an art person and a makerspace, so for example, I'll go ahead and this was see if we can get to this really quick. I did this with 6th graders one year. We did some of the Winter of the Olympics, and they had to design, trying to see, I wasn't expecting to do this. It was bobsled. And we not only did that in art, they created the mountain that the bobsleds went down. So getting it pleasing and artistic, it's all that. And then they designed and engineered the bobsleds. And then there was always a creative element of like, which one was the most creative? Those kind of things. So this is just, I wasn't expecting to do that, but these are some of the things that are in here. And if the newsletters are on that site, I will share that. And then there is a Facebook page for the Missouri Girls Initiative. And that's just something I'm working on as well. So I will go ahead and stop sharing on that. Any other questions?
Well, Jennifer, thank you for sharing all of this information. It just kind of scratches the surface of what's possible with STEM and art collaboration. And I will get more of this information from you. So when I do my follow-up, I can send some more of these links and things that you talked about today.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Jennifer? I am going to now share my screen and we'll do some wrap up activities. And thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
So if you need a or would like a continuing ed certificate, please let me know. You can email me at cynthia.phelps@moaae.org. We also offer graduate credit through our Elevate webinar series. And you can learn more about that on our website at MissouriAlliance.org. Please join us in March. Our presenter is Tabitha Tracy. She is a choral director who has focused some of her work on mindfulness in the arts classroom. That will be March 9th at 5:30 p.m. And again, thank you for being here today. And we always appreciate your feedback, suggestions, and comments. They are welcome. You can use the QR code on the screen. So thank you again for being here, and we hope that you have a great week.